Good day, silly people. This is Saba from the Silly McWiggles blog, and you're listening to a new episode of Silly Talks, my Australian music podcast. How have you been? I hope you enjoyed last week's episodes with Anita Quayle and found out something new about how you can use the cello in contemporary music. This week, I've got another surprise for you. So far, I've only been speaking to solo female musos. So, to mix things up a little, this time I'm bringing you a chat with a Melbourne-based art rock band comprised of three gents. Peak Park are Mitch on the vocals and guitar, Carl in charge of the bass and vocals, and Tom, the guitarist and chief producer. From our conversation, you'll pick up right away that this was not the first time we spoke. Peak Park had already approached me in May 2020 with the release of their single Please Don't Be So Hard on Yourself, which tackles mental health. Back then, they'd only been a band for a year or so approximately, and I was a different person as well. Anyways, if you're keen, check out that first interview on my YouTube channel for context, especially since we'll be referring to it a lot in the next two episodes. I'll include a link to it in the episode notes as well. I gotta say, I was actually pretty stoked when the boys reached out to me again this year with the release of their EP, How to Be. We'll talk about it in more detail in the Silly Encore on Thursday. But it was an awesome opportunity to catch up again and talk about their progress as a music outfit. Hence, the topic of this episode is centered around growth and identity. I'm just giving you a heads up already that a few four-letter words were dropped here and there in this conversation. So if you've got a sensitive ear, you might wanna pretend that you didn't catch it, okay? So let's see what Peak Park have been up to in the last two pandemic years. What has changed for you as a band? Like, have you? I can imagine you've done a lot of growing up, like as individuals, and like. But what's different between what you were as a band 2 years ago and now?
Yeah, I think you probably nailed it with the pandemic in that there's only so much we kind of could do, and it's been well documented how like long Melbourne and Victoria was in lockdown. So for the most part, I guess the first year we probably had like a bit of steam when it all kind of ended over summer. We started like writing and recording and stuff again. We had like all these sort of demos sitting there, and we're like, we'll finish them, we'll get them done. And then I think it was March of last year. Yeah, we finished recording for Closer I Feel, which is a single we put out at the end of last year. And then lockdown and everything kind of happened all over again, and we just like lost all momentum and went back into kind of hibernation, and we're just like working on stuff at home. But yeah, so that was like the pandemic side of it. But I mean, growth wise, like Mitch and I now sort of live together as well. So
Sort of. What do you mean sort of?
Well, I should probably say we do actually. Yeah. But we don't live in the same room. We live in the same house. So that's been like, I guess, 5-6 months now, and that's really like taken a step forward in terms of like productivity. We had a bit of a new lease on life, and like all the demos and everything that we've been sitting on all through the last 2 years, it was just a case of we've got all this stuff here, like let's just like finish it and release it. So that's in like a musical sense. But I guess growth wise, personally, it's personally, I felt like music is more exciting than ever now. I feel like 2 years of living in the house and I don't know, working a job that probably wasn't the most fulfilling. It's cool to be doing stuff again. So, yeah.
We probably got like better at like communicating ideas as well, just like over messages, unfortunately. But like that's just kind of how it was, and like because we couldn't really see each other, and we did try to get like some steam going even in lockdown and stuff. I feel like now after that, our process of being able to communicate with each other when we're not in the same room is actually a lot better as well. And then just like having a couple of years as like friends and stuff. We've just grown closer naturally that. It's been different.
For sure. But on a side note, one thing that hasn't changed is I can see that Thomas is still the boss in the band, and he does all the PR, and he starts talking always first, right? That's
That's it. I'm going to try and pare it back a little bit. So if I make direct eye contact, you're up.
But that's actually good because one of the things I wanted to ask you as well is like how the roles within the band have changed, if they've changed at all. Because remember, you were joking last time. You said that you say that you have like a creative department, and you obviously do it like within the band as well. But have you kind of clarified who does what exactly now in the band? Also, like outside of the music, so like the PR, maybe marketing and stuff. So who's responsible for what?
It's a good question. It's still all us. Yeah, we haven't really outsourced anything just yet, except for photography. We've worked with a couple of people, but otherwise it's been all us. I think, probably recently we've gotten a lot more like collaborative with the whole process. With writing and stuff. But like still quite a lot of the songs have started with like an idea of yours that you've had like a semi kind of like not finished, but like a very well fleshed out demo. And then we kind of have just rolled with it. But I guess different to how we were starting, you pretty much had finished songs when we first started.
Definitely.
And we just recorded them essentially. So it's been pretty fun being able to collaborate a little bit more on that side. I think roles wise, actually like very recently, like it's been so much just like so much stuff to do, and just I feel like we're doing pretty decent with like delegating each other roles and stuff.
For sure. And it sort of lends itself to like you have a really artistic flair as well. So certain responsibilities with stuff creatively, visually often like falls to you. And then we're kind of like working around how we like there's a number of deliverable things that we need in order to productively actually put something out. And just finding some of our like natural strong points and stuff like that has helped to assign roles to each other. But I think we all feel like we could kind of sub in different things in many ways. And that sort of goes for the instruments too. And that's become even more prevalent probably since it's something we always talked about, the ability that we probably all could play different instruments and stuff. But as we've grown and started really preparing for stuff this year, live show stuff, it's really come into the fore, like being able to switch around and do different things.
Specifically,
no, I was just going to say, I reckon
you're not allowed to talk.
Yeah, my bad. I was going to say, I reckon we've gotten better at it. Like, just even in the last few weeks, we've been talking about like, so Mitch in recent times has like picked up an editing job for videos. So he's like, that's kind of his domain, and like even photos and Lightroom, like you're killing it lately. Well, lately, but we'll see. And then even in terms of like a lot of the PR stuff and that, like you were working on the last few nights, like, I think we're getting better at realizing that stuff needs to be done, and it's a bit easier to like say your initials are on it, like have a crack while I'll do this and you'll do that. So all the boring shit that isn't music related.
Oh yeah, tell me about it. But because everything stays in the house with you guys, at one point when you're going to be famous and like a label is going to kind of like want to back you up, it's going to be hard for you to let go because you've got so much control over everything you're doing, right? So it's like from the creation process to how you want to market it as well. Have you given it some consideration, like that in the future it might be like a painful lesson to learn that all of a sudden like you're not even in control of your music because perhaps you'll be kind of forced to do stuff that maybe is not what you would want to do. Any thoughts on that? I know it's a kind of like a far-fetched, statement, and we never know what's going to happen. And I wish you all the best in whichever direction you want to go. But it's always a possibility that you'll get picked up by Universal, say.
Well, we would like to aim high. I don't think we've ever really thought about it, but I don't think we've actively not wanted to work with people out of like I guess a pretentiousness or anything. I think it's just sort of been when you're so close to the source and like you're so invested, and like I guess what Cal was sort of saying, like we are a bit multidisciplinary as well. It's a bit easier to be like, well, like we'll just do it instead of like trying to find someone who fits your vibe and like, does what like tries to hit the same sort of roles and targets and stuff that we do. So, but I mean, if I'd like to think once you kind of get signed or whatever that like, people who really care and hopefully share a similar sort of vision. I'd love to expand and like just take shit off our plate. That'd be great. Like
we collaborated a little bit with like creators and obviously photography wise and stuff. And I think we've enjoyed it
on
the whole. It's definitely something we're looking to do more of. But it's an interesting thought. Like, I don't think we really thought about like that kind of breakthrough and like not having all that responsibility. At the minute, it just feels like it's just like stuff we have to do. And like, fortunately, we have interest in like a lot of the fields that are outside of the music, and so we kind of just figure just do it ourselves. But that would be really interesting. I don't know. I'd be I feel like we like working with people though, so I feel like it would be kind of fun.
We'll just have to explode to find out. So.
Exactly. Yeah. All right, so now that we've covered the basics and are up to speed on where Peak Park are in 2022, I'll let the gents talk you through other things, like their music genre or a fairly unconventional creative process. You might have also noticed that they don't have a band member in their outfit in charge of a pretty significant instrument. So we'll talk about that too. Also, keep in mind that we spoke a few weeks ago when they had a headlining show at the Revolver in Melbourne's suburb of Prahran coming up. That gig happened on the 25th of March, and it went really well from what I could see from their social media accounts. I couldn't be there, unfortunately, but it was still cool to talk to them about the preparations when they had 2 weeks to go before the show. 2 years ago, when we were talking about like what you wanted to do as a band and which direction you wanted to go into, you were not really sure yet, which doesn't surprise me because you were kind of quite early on in your career. And now you describe yourself as an art rock band, right? And this is a very specific genre of music. So I'm wondering whether in those 2 years, this has been like a natural kind of progression for you, or you kind of decided you wanted to go in that direction and then the music kind of followed?
I think like definitely going back a bit, we have like very different sort of interests in music that overlap in certain areas, and as a result the music we were kind of making was like it didn't feel like necessarily it was like all in the same genre or fitting the same mold every time. And I think initially we were a bit like hesitant about that because like it's a bit harder and like it's a bit more polarizing to get into someone if they're not sort of giving you a similar vibe. But I think recently that probably did happen sort of in lockdown. We had kind of a realization of like we have all these different interests in like genre and like vibes and mood and stuff, and like why not just lean into it and just make like a whole different style of music, like because we enjoy it, so like why not?
Not to be crass, but it was a bit of like just sort of fuck it, like if we enjoy it and it's working, like why try and fight it sort of thing. And I think Mitch is like nailed it. It all comes down to just different influences and different interests and that sort of stuff. But I think we landed on the art rock because it was like indie rock didn't sort of feel as right for some of the more electronic stuff we were doing. And then like electronic and I don't know, genres can be a bit of like a never ending thread that it's hard to really nail down. And until I think we like are trying not to be too caught up in being too pretentious and being like, oh, it's our own, like we've made a new genre or anything either. It's like I think we just want to make whatever feels good and sort of sounds nice, and a good song's a good song. And if like it's different from like this EP, for instance, like song 1 to song 3, we think are quite different. And it's like if they're good and you know someone might love song 3 but hate song 1, like that's not for us to decide. That's the listener's decision. So it's kind of just happened.
Even in like things like not related to the music, but like we've talked about things like your online identity before and stuff. Like I think when you're starting, you sort of feel like you have to be like serious all the time and present this very one-dimensional side of like a creator and stuff. And I think recently we've realized that like people kind of enjoy when you show that you have different sides of you and like you're a more well-rounded kind of human. And like you can be funny and you can be serious and everything in between. So I feel like our music is probably a little bit similar in that way. Yeah.
We're waiting for Cal to release a comedy special next.
But on that note, do you remember that I asked you about why you called yourself Sad Boy Tunes 2 years ago? And I think it's very fitting right now. But where is the drummer? What's happening with the drummer story?
He's holding the camera.
No, we're still
working on it.
Working on it. we've committed ourselves to a live show, like a launch for this EP. So at the moment, it's drummerless.
I was going to say, technically speaking, depending on how you look at the question, I mean, you kind of are the
drummer.
Yeah,
I suppose so.
I think we're all the drummer in our own way, but
so I guess because like maybe we like back when we were playing gigs like a couple of years ago, it would have been a more pressing thing, but then lockdown happened and we went sort of back into writing mode again, and the need for a drummer kind of, I mean, it'd be great to have a drummer on the recordings, but we were able to manage without one. And I think only probably recently, since starting to practice for this gig again, it's sort of been something that's come back.
No, we definitely want one.
We
want. But I mean, like, it's hard enough to find people you get along with as friends, let alone musicians who then like want to make music you do as well. So I think at the moment we're like, I mean, it would be ideal, but I think we're pretty content to just kind of give this a crack for now, and hopefully we pick up more gigs and it becomes a bit more of a viable option.
Yeah, for sure.
That being said, we haven't really hunted that hard.
No, we haven't looked at all. We haven't. Not once.
And it's not a requirement, obviously. You can go on without the drummer. It's just funny because I also, when I listened to the interview 2 years ago, you gave me some good reasons why you don't have one, apart from maybe not being able to find a person. You said that, it's easier for you guys to practice as well, because you can go into late at night and, there's no banging and like the neighbors are not going crazy. But I'm also thinking about Mitch a little, because you said as well, Thomas, in that interview, that it's easier for Mitch because he doesn't have to belt out, things, because he doesn't have this constant, like, in the background. So I'm thinking, is it more difficult for you now, for instance, to rehearse for the live shows because you're not used to having the drummer in the room? Normally, when you record.
Yeah, I suppose it hasn't been too different, like, for us, because we've still been practicing and like recording and stuff just with the mixer, so we can still kind of control all that, but I think that would definitely be a massive element if we did get a drummer in, like, practicing wise. Like, that would take probably quite a bit of steering the ship back on course again, because we haven't like really ever done it. I think we've done like one practice with the drummer once, but I haven't played with a drummer in so long. Definitely be something to get used to again.
It's quite a tough gig as well, really, I would say, for an encroaching drummer.
Yeah.
Is that the right word? Probably not. Encroaching. It's right over there. No, but like, just because the drums in our tracks so often go between the electronic stuff and the acoustic, more real drummer, like, even just getting prepared for this gig that we have coming up, we've spent so long really delving into when each of us should play and like how the tonal aspects of all of that, and just adding the drummer in to that will just be a whole different ballgame. I think we all probably think that's something that will happen. I don't know. Maybe
it won't.
Maybe it won't.
We'll never get a drummer.
Well, I mean, that being said, like, we've started experimenting with, like, you've been playing a lot of the pads, and me and you have both gotten like synths recently, and doing more sort of rhythmic, like percussive kind of stuff on that too. I don't know. Who knows?
Currently, like, all the pros of not having a drummer still stand. So until it becomes maybe a bit more viable, I think it's fine. In an ideal world, we'd have one and everything would work out, but like, there's only so many things that can kind of happen at once.
Okay, another side of that question is, are you ready to accept someone into the band? Because, like, I don't know how much of a formed kind of organism you already are, and then if someone comes all of a sudden after you being a band for 3 years, will they be of course they'll be accepted, but the question is whether you have space for someone else to kind of to come to the creative process. That's my question as well.
I think definitely. I mean, like, even going really far back, that, like, if you kind of look at it in the sense that a lot of the way this all sort of started is because I had ideas and like I wanted to take people on board, and like then it became this, like, and even as Mitch has said, some of the collaborative stuff we have done, although like not a lot of it, it's been quite successful. So I think going back to your previous question, it's I don't think it'd be an issue at all. Like, I'd love to have sort of more people involved and who have a similar sort of I guess just like incentive to want to make music and same sort of motivation as well. That's probably the key one, as long as they're on board and they have a same opinions or not same opinions, but like
values.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah, I think you kind of get what I'm trying to say.
There'd be a rigorous vibe check.
Yeah.
So when you guys are in a songwriting kind of session, how do you do it? Do you record every single idea that you have? Do you jot down the notes, or is it just like basically a jam session and you're just kind of jamming and then ideas form based on that, or is it more structured?
Yeah, probably more structured.
Yeah.
We've jammed out. I think when we've jammed out before, it's mostly been for melody. Like we're looking for vocal lines and stuff, and we're trying to find something like that.
Yeah.
But we've got kind of a weird process of like, it's very like you kind of go home and you do your homework and then you come back and you show the others what you've got.
Really?
That kind of, it's interesting. Like,
is there a grading system involved as well? So if you're like really bombed on the homework, then you like go home, go to your room, think about it.
I've got a filing cabinet. I just haven't seen it yet.
But yeah, like often like Tom will come to us with like a pretty well fleshed out like demo or like idea or something. And then
always musically, like I've given up on singing, like just because like it's just another thing to take on, and I've got full faith in both the guys, and it's like being proven on this sort of EP to like they can absolutely bring it. But
it's usually how much like we have ideas, we bring them, we listen to them together, kind of suss out if we like them or like what is working, maybe what isn't working.
Always critical.
And then we mostly have like discussions rather than like a jam about the ideas and stuff. And then
we do.
Yeah, like we talk about the ideas a lot instead of actually like kind of playing them.
Yeah.
And then we go home and like they're all on the Google Drive and stuff, and we listen back to them, and like if anyone comes up with an idea, we bring it to the next practice. And that's kind of how it's going.
That is weird.
We do so much talking.
Yeah, we do. We should probably that won't evident.
That's okay.
I think it's just a product of just like how they're kind of written in like Logic, and it's like it's written as a like in a DAW, and part of that full circle is back to not sort of having a drummer and being a full-on live band, which I think down the line we all really want to do more of that. It's just kind of hard to do that when you have like a set sort of Logic file and like to get on the fly and change things. But
and in lockdown as well.
Yeah, and lockdown too. That made it hard.
When we spoke for the first time in 2020, the pandemic had just started, and nobody in the whole wide world wanted to believe that it would last for more than just a few weeks or months tops. Peak Park were very much looking forward to presenting their music to a wider group of people in their hometown back then. But Melbourne suffered probably the harshest lockdown on the whole planet, on top of that twice. So its famous music scene, and the live ones specifically, were actually pretty much non-existent for quite a while. Since I haven't been back to Melbourne since 2019, I wanted to know how much the city's music vibe has changed from their perspective and to what extent they feel a part of the local scene. Plus, we've talked about their hopes, dreams and fears to wrap up the catch-up.
Outside of that, it probably does feel different really without even realising. Yeah, I don't know.
I feel a bit underqualified to sort of comment on it, because even last time, if I remember, I think we might have briefly spoke about it, but because I'd felt a bit out of the scene anyway, because we were just writing and recording and we weren't really gigging or anything, like at a really minute, like micro hour sort of level gigs and stuff. I mean, I haven't been to any. I think that's something we're really trying to push as well, is to build a bit more community and be involved in a community too, which is, I mean, that's hard because, as I said, like the genre thing, it's really easy to find gigs if you fit into that, like not to name or shame, but like surf rock or indie or whatever it is. And I think when we kind of skirt around the borders a little bit and we haven't gigged for like we haven't gigged in recent years, we don't have those established relationships. It's something I really want to get involved to, but I feel like we're just like on the cusp, and it's just getting over that little hill is really hard. So I feel kind of, as I said, just underqualified to talk about the Melbourne scene at the moment or how music is, because we're a bit maybe detached from it, not out of choice.
For sure.
Just kind of coincidence, quinky dink. So.
Going back again to 2 years ago, and I asked you if you could envision in the future dedicating fully to the music business, and then the answer was hopefully. now we're 2 years, later, and you've seen how, difficult the time has been for the music business in the pandemic. So I'm just going to, again, ask that question. So knowing what it entails now, and if there is times like the pandemic ones, then you can't pretty do much because of the, no live gigs and stuff, and you can't even be in the same room sometimes. So what's that looking like now? Would you want to be professional musicians, knowing all the pros and cons now, 2 years later?
It's a tough one to answer.
Yes.
I know.
I think what you've always said, Tom, is that with this whole chasing the dream, if you call it that, and like aiming to do this as a professional thing, you kind of, because even before all of those difficulties that you talk about with pandemics and things like that, which have been really hard on people that are like full-time artists that have no other source of income, which is not the position that we're at. But yeah, you've said before about like, you just want to get there to even see if it is for you, because it can be like a sacrificial for yourself, sacrificial for the people around you, because it's something that takes a lot of our time. But we talk often as well about how there's so much stuff to do in sort of being a DIY musician that goes beyond just learning your instrument or writing songs. It's all part of the same thing, but all these other PR things that we've talked about, you could dedicate your whole life to any one element of it and spend your whole time doing that, but we're really required to just kind of juggle it all. And so I think for me, while I don't sit here saying that I like hate my job, I don't by any means, but I think there's times where I'd love to be able to sort of start doing that at the beginning of the day and just do that all day and just dedicate the full time to it. And it'd be easy to get into, well, I don't mean it would be easy, but getting to that routine of sort of making it not feel businessy, but being able to fully dedicate yourself. I think it's personally something I'm still chasing. And I think I still want to, but those challenges are scary about it. Yeah.
For sure.
No, I'm the same. I think it would be I mean, who knows, like with the uncertainty of the future and stuff, and like it's obviously been an absolute like shocker to be in that kind of industry at the minute, but I think that's still the goal for us, and we'd still love, I definitely would be able to do that all the time and just dedicate all my time to music. I don't know. Even on the hard days, music's pretty good.
Sure. Yeah. I think like all the other stuff sort of excites me to this point now as well, knowing that it is part of it, and it's like my mindset is effectively you're better off like deep diving into it and trying to enjoy it rather than fighting it. So I'd be keen as to just do it indefinitely and hopefully get some sort of success or make it worthwhile. But
Well, let's kind of have the same conversation in 2 years' time, and I'll ask you where you are, and like if you still want to continue. Do you know what this Billie Eilish? I think I don't know what magazine that is, but the Vogue, like she does the same one like every single year. Yeah, we should make it like a tradition as well, but in our case, it's going to be every 2 years. But from talking to you, I gather that you in those 2 years have become not only better bandmates, but also like better mates as well. You guys know each other so well. Like even when we were talking about like the lyrics and stuff, when Mitch brings them, you guys are like, yes, excellent, we'll take it. So and the song for tomorrow, as Mitch, you put it in the notes, it's kind of like an optimistic kind of outlook to the future. So I wanted to ask you what your hopes are and like what your dreams are from this point onwards, and like dream big, don't hold yourself. So what are the things that you would like to achieve still in the music biz?
Geez, massive question. I think I'd love to be able to tour, like music wise, like I don't know, even like an Aussie tour would be awesome. Just like a big tour would be great, and I don't know, just be able to play music like kind of all the time. But I feel like on a smaller scale that song's just sort of about like like change isn't like, even though it feels uncomfortable, it can be really good. And sometimes like it's very easy to sort of convince yourself out of something because it's like scary. And so I feel like going forward, that is something I want to try to do less of, just like having a crack and just seeing what happens. yeah, but I don't know, massive, like setting my sights big. What would it be? Headlining. What's a huge
Splendor?
Glastonbury. Yeah, that's pretty big.
Yeah, that should be fun.
Olympic opening night.
So I just love for people who I don't know to know our music. Like that would just
that's a big one.
That like has always been my kind of goal, is just to get to a point where like I talk about music or people might know it and they're not friends or family or someone I've had a direct engagement with. Yeah, that'd be huge. And for people to come to shows, I guess the extension of that, for people to come to shows and sell out gigs where you don't know anyone, like I don't know, your mum might be in the crowd or whatever, but that would be, that to me is like already aiming quite high, because I know it is such a big deal to get to that point. And from there, it's just a scale thing, I guess. But and in like broader sense, I'd love to work with like more people, treat it as a full-time thing. And it really excites me because it just like, I'm proud of what we've done already, and this is with the constraints and the environment we're already in. I'd love to see like if time wasn't an issue, equipment, like people wasn't a problem, and even in a broader sense, like photos and videos as well. Like I'd love to do fully fledged like story music videos and all sorts of stuff. So any of those, to be honest.
Yeah. Well, I do actually have a bit of to interject here with a bit of a anecdote. One of your goals has already sort of come true there, because I was telling a friend of mine about the show. Yeah. And she was keen to come, and she said she invited some of her friends, and one of these friends had a sibling, and she said, "Oh, this is a cool young person," sort of thing. And she was like, "Oh yeah, it's my friend's band, Peak Park," kind of thing. She's like, "Oh yeah, I know that band." I was like, so I don't know. That may be like one very isolated situation. I wouldn't like to imply that it's a widespread thing happening around potentially the world. But yeah. But yeah, I don't know. I think you guys have, I don't even want to call it like goals wise, but you've sort of crossed a lot of the things that I would have said. Sharing the music with people in a broader sense, and also just like having those experiences of going around and like doing it. And I guess it's all kind of the same thing, spreading it. And but yeah, even what you said in terms of like having those other disciplines as a way to kind of enrich our art form, in terms of like having a sort of high concept music video or some other sort of media that goes along with it, which is something we've like dipped our toes into for sure. But don't necessarily have the resources of like let's say Billie Eilish to do that at this stage. But I don't know. I think that's it. I'd love to just do music full time. Yeah,
I'd love to see Mitch in an episode of Euphoria. That's our goal.
So we're waiting for his acting transition.
Go for it.
Exactly.
Good luck with that, Mitch. But I'm also waiting for that comedy special, Carl, that was advertised. I think it's something that people would really vibe with, honestly. So but then let me just kind of like turn the question around as well. So you kind of expressed your hopes and dreams and stuff in a way. What are you afraid of might happen that will, I don't know, backfire on you?
Obviously, like it not working in the end would suck.
Can I just kind of jump in here? When you say not working, do you mean like the EP is not kind of, people don't pick it up, they don't like the songs, or like you are not working as a band? Because that's the two different things, I guess.
Yeah,
probably both. I mean, in like a career sense, like if it's just becoming too hard to do, that would kind of suck. But also if we weren't I don't know, if it wasn't working with it, if we weren't enjoying it anymore and stuff, that would also be kind of a bummer. I feel like maybe at the minute we just like got too much blind ambition to like, be afraid. And I guess we're in like that sort of privileged position of like not having to worry too, like we all have like stable jobs and stuff, so we can kind of have a crack and in that way. But I don't know what else frightens me.
Well, the thing that like scares me the most is like knowing like how old is too old and when to kind of give up, and like the whole other side of life that I want to explore, as in like, you know, like have a family and all that sort of stuff. That crossover period between like, am I just an old man like trying to flog a dead dream, and like, should I have given up years ago? That's probably the thing that scares me the most. And it's hard to not compare to, I guess, like even like we've said a name of Billie Eilish, someone who's like borderline a decade younger than I am and is like, you know, astronomically more successful. So it's hard to not sort of feel like that boat's already sort of sailed sometimes. That's probably my biggest fear, I would say, is just getting old and not knowing when to drop it and it getting in the way of other life decisions. So, and I guess like blind ambition plays into it, because then on the flip side, I'm like, you know what, who cares? Like if I'm enjoying it and I'll just make it work. Like I'm not going to worry about whether 3 years from now, if we're so successful and I need to like, you know, slow down and have a family, or if we're not successful, like that's a problem for the future. Got enough stuff to worry about, like whether this comedy special's got a problem. So.
If that really takes off, you know.
Well, that's a fear in itself. What if Cal like moves on without us?
That's a hope. I'll be waiting.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Feel like you know Peak Park a little better now? Why don't you give their music a listen then? You can find it on all your usual platforms, but I'll include the link to their website in the show notes as well, just in case. This is the end of the chat for today, but we'll be back in a couple of days to dive into the concept behind their EP, How to Be. Until then, check out my other adventures as Silly McWiggles on the blog. And don't forget to subscribe to or follow this podcast wherever you're listening, so you won't miss all the cool interviews coming up throughout May. Silly out! See you back here on Thursday. Ciao!